film is so successful in walking the tightrope between humor and content that is very serious and sometimes devastating. So I'd really like to hear from all of you on how you walk that balance to make the tone work so well.
It starts at Diablo, and I think that's where the DNA of this film is, and that's how Diablo is always written. She's found things that could easily be considered tragic or dramatic. I mean, I even remember when I was making Juno, and I would tell people, I'm making a movie about teen pregnancy, and they would go, oh, like, no, it's a comedy. It's gonna be funny. And, oh, really? And they'd be confused. And now, with each subsequent film, I think people start to understand, oh, this is gonna be a funny film, despite what we're talking about. So I think that's the thrill of reading our material. So it's right there on the page. The drama and the humor intertwined.
I wanted to talk to you about what your opinion is on motherhood and how it differs in other countries, and specifically, is there something uniquely American or something uniquely South African that stands out to you?
I think there's something about being a parent that just is the same for everybody. There was this documentary a couple of years ago called Babies. I don't know if you guys saw it.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it right before my kids came into my life, and it really moved me because ultimately what you see, yes, the experiences are very different. And in Mongolia you can actually tie a kid to a table and not go to jail, and here that would probably be problematic. But
we still do it.
But ultimately, it's the one thing that I think we all share is just that we're trying to get through every day, whatever we choose to do to hopefully be the best thing for your kids. Mm-hmm. And it might be different in how we go about it in different countries, but I think as mothers, I think we're always, in some weird way, every decision gets made based from our kids, or at least I have found that. There's a thing that in South Africa, we have this saying, it takes a village to raise a kid, and I was raised that way. I grew up with a lot of people around me, and my mom really sharing me with a lot of people, and it was just great to grow up that way. And I think for me, it was always going to be how I was going to raise my kids. And from the moment they came home that first night, my village was there, and they got to meet their village, and that village is in their life now, and I think will be in their life forever. And I rely on those people. They are kind of like my chosen family. And I value what they bring to my kids' lives, and I know that I'm not solely responsible for how great my kids are. There's a lot of great people who are bringing so much to their lives. And I think this movie will maybe start that conversation a little bit more, because when we talk about help, it feels so cold, but help can be something that's really warm, and it doesn't have to feel like this isolated thing that you're bringing in from the outside to help you. I think the more you think about it is like just becoming part of raising a child instead of just help. Mm-hmm. I think it makes it, you realize the value in that, and I'm so grateful for the people that I have, not only in my life, but in my kids' lives.
You're talking about how it does take a village to raise a child, and our village has seemed to have opened up to the internet, social media. How do you think that has changed the look of motherhood and how we parent today?
I'm no expert, and I'm not very good with social media and all of that, but I do see the positive in just being able to, I have some support groups, boards that I go to when I have questions and things like that, and I think it's so valuable to have that. But it can also become a place where you feel kind of like you're doing it all wrong, because everything that you see and hear is telling you that you're doing it wrong. So it's, you have to kind of take it all with a grain of salt. But I do think there's something nice about having more access to places and spaces where you can share your experience, and change the face of what we think parenthood should look like. And the more that honest conversation takes place, I'm grateful for that. I mean, when I find my little spaces where I can do that, I'm very grateful that I can have those conversations. To wean it out like everything else in life.
In our modern era of women in the workforce and men often being stay-at-home dads,
we often still refer to moms as the parent and dads as like the weekend person or the babysitter. What do you think it'll take to change that?
You're a dad.
I'm a dad. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think maybe more dads will have to do it, and B, they'll have to get better at it, and so that it'll feel like, oh, this is the way it can go. And then I think they have to get a little prouder about talking about it. I think a lot of dads, even if they are primary caregivers, and even if they are great at it, there's sort of they don't want to, you know what I mean? They don't want to like be bragging about that during the football game because it doesn't go over well. So there's a little bit of that, I think. Yeah.
Writing the script, what came about doing the middle child as the quirky child?
There's something really clever about how Diablo did that in the screenplay. You don't really hear nor do you hear what is going on with her son. You never also hear the term, postpartum depression in the film. And these are all complicated gray areas, and I think it's really smart that Diablo never made it specific, because really what either of those are there to serve to is this idea that we're only supposed to present half of what it's like to be a parent to the world. We are only supposed to present the fact that it's like what Charlize says at the beginning when the principal says, "Oh, you're about to pop," and Charlize goes, "Oh, it's such a blessing," and which is the kind of subtle, brilliant joke that only she could do. But that's how that script works. It's playing off this idea that we're only supposed to present a version to the world that we're perfect. Yeah, we have a kid and life is perfect, and it'd be shameful to say anything otherwise. And when a movie works really well, it makes you feel less alone. No matter what it is, no matter what you're watching a movie about, the great ones make us feel less alone. That's why we watch them as a group in a movie theater. And hopefully, by taking this kind of nuanced approach to both her relationship with her son, who finally says, "Maybe we don't need this. I love spending time with you, but maybe we don't need the brush." We speak the idea of letting go of shame, putting shame down, and allowing ourselves to be honest.
With Charlize, I read your interview with Chelsea Handler, and you gained a lot of weight from this film, and you said that you experienced a bout of depression yourself, and in the film it's girls heal, no they don't, and I thought that was a very significant line, and you talked about postpartum depression and something like that. What do you want people to take from that line, How do you think people should feel from that?
I think it lives in a gray area for all of us, right? I think it's different for all of us, but I do kind of agree with what Chelsea said in that interview, that we hurt different than men, and I think we carry pain differently to men. And I love that line. I loved saying it. It felt so right for Marlo. But when I think about myself, I don't necessarily know if I believe that wholeheartedly. I don't know if what we experience isn't just part of building who we are, and is that a bad thing? Like, does that mean you're broken? Is that the part that never gets fixed? I don't know. I kind of like not knowing too. I mean, I think that it's going to be something that I'm gonna experience more as my journey continues as a woman and as a mom, and that's okay. Like I don't feel like I need to know that answer. It's good to just acknowledge it and to talk about it, but I don't know if I have the answer to it. But I do believe in concealer, yes. A lot of it.
What do you hope people will take away, women and men will take away from seeing this film, the overall film?
I would have to say it's what Jason just talked about, just to not feel alone. I know that making this film made me not feel alone. I think the honesty of the conversation that this movie starts is one that you just can't deny, because it's that truthful. And I think when you live and breathe in that place, then you realize you're not alone. And I know for myself as a parent, there have been days where I really needed that. Really needed to know that, and I think every parent will tell you that. And that's kind of the feedback that we've been getting so far. People see this movie and there's a lot of moments where they see themselves and feel like that has never been, they have never had that opportunity to see that part of being a parent. And that's a nice thing. I think when you can kind of do something that makes people feel on a level that's that raw and honest and undeniably truthful, that's always a great place to be in. We didn't water this down, or we never came from an angle to make this more appetizing for moms out there, or families out there, or trying to say something that felt better about motherhood. We really just went for the truth, and we all responded to that, and I think we just felt like other people would respond to that as well.
What was your takeaway? Do you have children as well?
Yeah. I have 2 children.
Yeah,
they're 10 and 6. And I remember when I first read the script, it reminded me of a conversation I had with my wife, who I think in some ways was like the earlier version of Marlo that's hinted at, of, fun-loving, able to throw parties, and I think she really envisioned that she would be able to have it all and do it all, that it was like somehow the Gwyneth Paltrow lore was achievable, and people would look at her, and we always had this joke where we say, how does she do it? Everybody wants that question asked about them, and my wife and I always joke about how she has to avoid that desire to have people saying that about her and admit that, well, I do it because I cry a lot in between and I get a shit ton of help. That's how I do it. And so I felt that immediately this story was very good, not to be reductive, but anti-goop material in that way. And then for me personally, showing up on set, it was just so great to walk into a movie they had already been shooting for a while. I saw the special chemistry between Jason and Charlize, who are, done a movie together before, and the way that they talk to each other. Just speaking candidly, when you have a successful director who's been nominated for all these things, and a successful lead actress who's been nominated for all these things.
One. She's actually
okay.
Wow.
But you have multiple Razzies though, so you're good. But normally there's this walking on eggshells kind of thing. I don't want to bruise your ego. I don't want to bruise your ego. And the way they were like a brother and sister together, and immediately I was like, oh, I'm just going to do that. That's exactly. I'm going to be Jason to her in this scene.
That's awesome.
And I think it's great. The character Craig is interesting to me because he, at once is white privileged male trying to tell a mom how to live her life, which is like, cut the mansplaining. Right away it's got a problem. But at the same time, the core of his message of being able to admit that you need some help, there's no shame in that, is right. So I like that little complexity there.
Mark has one of my favorite improvisations I've ever seen on any one of my sets, where he just said to Charlize mid-take in the tiki bar, okay, asshole, sit down.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I get this, brother and sister. I really like that.
Yeah, it was exactly the way you guys treated each other. I really appreciate that.
It is how I like people to refer to me. That is a term of endearment.
In the movie, Marlo used frozen pizza and the gross, watery frozen broccoli to get through dinner. What's the best and or worst time-saving crutch you guys have had to use in a situation like that?
Oh. I don't have children, but I am disgusting. I like to melt butter and put sriracha in it and then dip bread into that.
Veggie burgers. Veggie burgers.
Oh, that's so goop. Veggie burgers, really? That's disgusting.
It frosts really quickly.
Got it.
Oh, this what has to be disgusting. I think they're disgusting. Kids like it.
Discussing's relevant.
In my house, we've tried to sell something we call cheesy beef.
Oh!
When none of us is prepared, and there's frozen hamburger meat in the freezer. I throw it in the pan, and as it cooks, I start shaving the stuff off and throw cheese on it and a bunch of salt, and they eat cheesy beef. I don't know how long this is gonna last, but right now it's working.
We do, I do just whatever is left over in the fridge, but I call it the mama special, which makes it sound really exotic. And now I get asked, like, can we do a mama special? And it's just a big tray with everything. Like, yes,
All the
everything that I can
leftovers.
find in the fridge.
Isn't it great how dumb they are sometimes?
And I sell it by saying you can eat it in my bed, which is the stupidest thing to do.
I remember that being a super privilege as a kid, though. Like,
Oh my God.